A South Dakota tribe banned Governor Kristi Noem, Republican, from its reservation after she delivered remarks on the U.S.-Mexico border last week, with the tribe's leader suggesting the governor is using the border to help former President Trump's bid for the White House. Due to the safety of the Oyate, effective immediately, you are hereby banished from the homelands of the Oglala Sewer tribe. Frank Starr comes out, president of the Oglala Sioux tribe, wrote in a statement addressed to Noem. Oyate means people or nation, according to the Associated Press. Noem delivered remarks in South Dakota's state legislature last week, where she said she is looking into sending more state resources to Texas amid an influx of migrants at the border. The Associated Press reported that she also blamed President Biden for the situation at the border, a claim that Starr comes out suggested was politically motivated. I joined the U.S. Marine Corps and served honorably in foreign wars, protect the freedoms of all Americans, even Indians throughout the nation. I don't want to see our Indian people and reservations used as a basis to create a bogus border crisis just to help Trump get reelected as president. And Governor Noem, his running mate as vice president, Starr comes out said. The tribe leader pushed back on Noem's suggestion to send more South Dakota National Guard troops and more resources, such as razor wire, to Texas due to what she calls an invasion at the border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, has doubled down on his declaration of an invasion at the border in recent weeks, arguing that Texas has a right to defend itself, thus calling the United States southern border in Texas an invasion by illegal immigrants and criminal groups. To justify sending SD National Guard troops there is a red herring that the Oglala Sioux tribe doesn't support. Starr comes out wrote, he also said many of the migrants crossing into the United States don't deserve to be dehumanized and mistreated, noting that many of them are seeking employment and a better life. They don't need to be put in cages separated from their children like during the Trump administration, or be cut up by razor wire furnished by, of all places, South Dakota, he said. Noem responded in a statement to Starr comes out. It is unfortunate that President Starr comes out chose to bring politics into a discussion regarding the effects of our federal government's failure to enforce federal law at the southern border and in tribe lands. My focus continues to be on working together to solve those problems, Noem said. She also defended her comments, saying that the tribes are one of the communities most affected by the surge in migrants. In my speech to legislature earlier this week, I told the truth of devastation that drugs and human trafficking have on our state and our people, she said. The Mexican cartels are not only impacting our tribal reservations, they are impacting every community from our big cities to our small towns. But our tribal reservations are bearing the worst of that in South Dakota. Speaking this fact is not only meant to blame is not meant to blame the tribes in any way. They are the victims here. They are the victims of cartel-driven criminal activity, and they are the victims of inaction by the federal government, she added. It's always funny when somebody makes a statement or comment, and like it's a group that you would look like a jerk for opposing, so you have to try and spin what they said, or like you can't push back directly on what they're saying, so you have to kind of like weasel it around. So going through, I'm still kind of like reeling from his name. Starr comes out comment. I agree with him that the this issue, he calls it the bogus border crisis. It's something that is there to help Trump get reelected, and we've talked about how that's why in Congress they're not entirely sure if they're even going to be able to pass anything, because Trump doesn't want them to. He wants to spend the next 10 months complaining about how Biden's not doing anything about the border, and then hopes that will be enough to help him get some more votes in states that he lost last time, like Georgia or Arizona. So this is something that is being used to the benefit of a political campaign, and Noam's whole like thing of, because listen, I don't care what anybody says, South Dakota does not have some giant influx of illegal immigrants. They're not Texas, they're not Arizona. So she knows that she can't be as involved with this issue as if she were, for example, governor of Texas, where this is happening repeatedly. So she has to go, oh well, I'm gonna send some barbed wire over there. I'm gonna get involved in this manner. And he points out, like, yeah, you're doing this so you can increase the chances of becoming Trump's running mate, which I think she already has a decent shot. But I digress. He's right that a lot of these migrants are seeking employment and a better life and fleeing from different, horrible conditions all across the world. Um, so to go through her state, because there's really not much for me to say about his statement, besides it is nice to see people in positions of power pointing out or I guess in positions of leadership, I should say, pointing out the obviousness of what is going on, where this is politically motivated and it's trying to help people with their campaigns. So because she can't say, oh yeah, this tribe, how dare they ban me from being able to come around them, uh, she goes, oh, in my speech, I told the truth of the devastation that drugs and human trafficking are having on our state and our people. Well, okay, do you have any programs in your state to address this? I mean, you would think if you're going to talk about drugs and human trafficking, I don't know, maybe you'd allocate some resources to specifically dealing with these issues. And that's one of the biggest problems with like the whole nativist position of a lot of these Republicans, where again they try to spin it as it's about like other things like fentanyl and all these other crises that if they were serious about addressing, they would have a coherent drug policy or some other medium, because people they have drugs that come from other states that are homegrown in America. So the idea that if we just get rid of the border crisis, all of these problems with drugs and human trafficking are just going to be over. uh I have a bridge to sell you. So she doesn't she pivots to talking about drugs and human trafficking. um she claims the Mexican cartels are impacting every community from our big cities to our small towns. I mean, I guess, but this tribal leader clearly does not believe that that group, or rather this organization, I guess you could call them an organization, the cartel, is having any impact on his tribe in South Dakota. And instead, they are afraid of being used as a prop in your attempts to be Trump's VP. So again, it's like more stuff that just isn't really explained that much. I mean, does she have any examples of incidents with the cartels messing with the tribes and wreaking havoc across South Dakota? No, because Mexican cartels are mostly located in these border adjacent states, and South Dakota is not one of them. Our tribal reservations are bearing the worst of that in South Dakota. Speaking this fact is not meant to blame the tribes in any way. They are the victim here. They are the victim of cartel-driven criminal activity, and they are the victim of an action by the federal government. So she's getting this statement from this tribal leader who says, you're using us as a prop in your attempts to disparage Biden and help Trump get reelected. And then she's like, you guys are the victims of inaction by the federal government that Biden is running, that I want to see replaced with Trump's second term. So it's just funny that like even when he's like saying no, we're not actually being affected by these people, you guys are being affected by these people. But I always find statements like this so interesting, because like she has to, it's such a tightrope to walk. You can't criticize the tribal leader because it's going to make you look like crap. These people are here legally, they have their own land, etc. So you have to try and spin it to where, okay, I'm gonna take his arguments, cut out the pieces that I like, because she doesn't address anything about it being politically motivated, trying to help Trump get reelected, trying to get herself to be his running mate. She doesn't address any of that whatsoever. So she has to go to the part of, oh well, this is this is a true crisis. He said it was bogus. Oh well, it's a real crisis, but and he's a victim here. Even though he himself is saying that he's not. He's actually more, because as far as I can tell, they haven't explicitly come out and banned cartel leaders or cartel members from coming to one of their tribes, but they have banned Noem. They have said, hey, look, you can't come over to our reservation. So if anyone seems to be a threat to them or someone they really don't want around them, it's her. I don't know. I find stories like this so interesting because it's very rare that politicians get any like true consequence for the things that they say. Like even like just forget about the actions, right? But just like very incendiary rhetoric. Think comments that are made that are pretty vile and just not things that others would agree with. And it's almost as if they can do this and sign any bill into law, and just pretty much get away with it scot free for their entire life. So even like the slight pushback that he gave her is still like it's nice to just see something, even if it's, I doubt she was going to go to that reservation anyway, but still, it's nice to see a tiny consequence. And I like how in her statement she doesn't even address the fact that she's been banned from there. Like, oh, I want to work together. Well, how are you going to work together if these people don't want to work with you? See, if she were smart, she would say, I'm disappointed that I've been banned over a comment that wasn't intended, because she tries to say a little bit, I didn't intend for it to be directed toward them, they're the victim, da da da. But she doesn't go, hey, I'd like to mediate this. Maybe we can resolve this in some way where we can come together to address the plight of these people on this reservation. Nothing. Just I got banned. I'm gonna ignore that I got banned. I'm gonna ignore that he said I'm doing this to be Trump's running mate, and I'm going to continue to talk about the inaction of the federal government on the border crisis. God, man, if she gets picked as Trump's running mate and they win, which there's always a chance of that, I'm not going to dispute it. 4 years of having to sit there and, like, I thought Pence was annoying, but this lady is taking the cake.